That's where your truck's at. Well, that's where it's going, because it's gonna go.
I will call this December 5th, Johnson County School Board work session to order. Dr. Argaz.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It's time to start going down the agenda. The last work session, we had a presentation from the Gun Awareness Project, Be Smart, from some representatives. After that presentation, request was made for us to obtain a draft resolution. We provided you a copy of the draft resolution for your review. Any comments that you had, I don't know if you had the opportunity to review it and want to have any conversation about it, or if you just want to wait, we can have another conversation at the school board meeting in 2 weeks. But again, you have a copy of it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I think it's the draft resolution that was used for when they presented information in Montgomery County.
I don't go on with Mr. Butler. I think it's a good time. Good thing. We can save one life.
And before I forget, also, we received a draft resolution that the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors approved as well. I gave a draft to Chris and Board of Supervisors yesterday for them to review as well. So we'll kind of wait to hear back if they have any comments as well.
Yeah, I think what we told them yesterday is look at it, see if there's anything in their side, there's pause. We will not put it on, decide anything firmly until our regular meeting in a couple of weeks. And so we can put it on the agenda. We'll just go ahead and tentatively put that on the agenda to approve. But if we hear something from the Board of Supervisors that they've got some issues with, we can always pull it off the table and do whatever.
Okay.
So if I hear anything, I'll share that with you, so that way you all know. Updates on construction, just to kind of give you updates as we move along. Renovation at Macy continue to move forward. They've replaced 31 of 56 fan coil units. So and they're keep working on the plaster around in the windows in the classrooms and fixing the ceilings around those as well. So we're not covering up the new windows. That's progressing well also. And again, over Christmas break, we're going to work on that hallway and do the abatement in that one area while we're out before we come back. So they're continuing to move along at Mason. Anything, Aaron? Mason? Yeah. Just so you know, just so you're aware, gym floors, we're going to work on getting an RFP together here before we get out for Christmas break, get that out so we can try to get bids back in January so we can get on somebody's schedule to have that work done June timeframe. That's Nares Elementary, taking it down to bare wood, repainting it, etc., and replacing some of that area that was damaged as well. Macy will kind of have to wait and see where they are in the renovation progress come June. If we can get in the gym, we will. We'll fix that area in the gym that we had planned where it's more from the previous water damage, get that fixed and get that floor taken care of as well, and then just reseal the other floors. So you know, just so you're aware, the plan right now over Christmas break also for Nares Elementary is to let the maintenance, Bobby said the maintenance can screen that and put a coat of seal on it so that it's good, at least get through the next 6 months. So they're going to do that over break and get that taken care of so we have that available as well. Eastern Elementary Middle School had a pre-bid meeting there on Tuesday of this week, Tuesday afternoon. Bids are due back December 19th at 1:30 here at the board office. That is about a week later than what we anticipated because we had to get information to DOE to get that approved at DOE's level, the plans and the superintendent's, my letter, architect's letter, et cetera, to them so they could review it. They finalized that November 18th. ZMM held the plans for a week later, so that's why we're backing it up a week, to get the bids. But we had, looked like good interest Tuesday at the pre-bid meeting, very similar to what we had for Giles and Neris High School and the Tech Center. Questions on those projects? I'm gonna share information with you on the three that we received bids on as well.
Yeah, I had some questions. At Macy, have we had any major change orders or anything?
Not really that I'm,
Just curious what we had or not major.
Well, I mean, we had to put the plaster in the,
I mean,
some ceilings in for a change order.
that's not major. I mean, it's instead of putting the ceiling in it to the window, we got it slanted going above the window, the plaster.
Maybe the additional cost in
That's the,
it over that.
That would
that's
be,
the only one, correct?
that's the only one that I'm aware of off the top of my head.
My understanding, the board supervisors had asked for a spreadsheet where everything was at. If we get that,
That was given to them, yesterday.
Once y'all email the entire board that, just so they'll have it.
yeah, I'd like to see where we're standing.
And I think, well, another thing that we'll need is we need, and talk about some of these other things that we want to talk about today. We need to see where we are, carry over what's been spent, what's still out there, whether it's been committed or not, just to break down that. I think we had a pretty good handle on it back in the spring, but I think there's, spent and done. Just to see where that is, if we can get that next couple of weeks prior to our regular board meeting, not that we'll take action on it, but just so we'll have that to ponder.
Yeah, I'll get that information from Dave and get that to you.
Anything else you need?
No, just I love the real firm grip on how our finances are there.
Understood.
I'll get that from what we gave them yesterday.
I was asked to reach out and do a little investigation on the school board garage roof. As you know, we've had some issues down there with some leaks and so forth, especially when we had Hurricane Helene came through. I did reach out to just unofficially to a roofing contractor to kind of give me a ballpark price of where we were at if we needed to replace that roof. He contacted me back and said we're looking at approximately, just a rough estimate, around $250,000 to replace the roof down there. And to the decking, one of the issues we have is with the metal decking. We have some areas down there that's the decking's completely rusted through, which presents a unsafe area around those skylights. I think it's mainly around the skylights from what I could tell. To replace that decking would be about $17 a square foot for the decking replacement. But with the nature and the scope of the project, we probably have to reach out to ZMM to do a set of construction documents, bid it out, similar to what we did to the tech center. I reached out to Randy and asked him what his time frame for that, for completing that would be, and he said about a month. They can get it in and out the door in about a month. So just wanted to present that information to y'all this morning and see what direction you wanted to go in terms of that. But I do know we had several weeks down there. John T. Morgan did come and did a temporary patching of the roof, so to speak, to get those leaks stopped. But I think Bobby Fisher had stated, and what we've heard is the roof has been in bad shape for a while, probably needs to be looked at.
We need to, we gotta go forward with it. We need to talk to the county and the PSA, see if they'll contribute something into that, to see, utilize it, see for their vehicles, see what we can do, but there's, got the $60,000 lift in there and everything else, tools,
Well, we had considerable damage to the break room with Hurricane Helene. We did file a report claim with that. I believe we got somewhere around $6,200
Something like
back off of that to redo the cabinets and the ceiling tiles and so forth. But how would y'all like me to proceed? Would you like us to reach out to ZMM and get them started on the construction documents? Do we need to continue to discuss this a little bit more?
I think we gotta get ZM in, we gotta get the construction plans done, and we gotta, I mean, this is not something that's gonna get better.
Costs more later.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get any better.
And, you know, honestly, when we're considering all these construction things going on, right now, we're in a good spot with costs, okay? When January 20th comes, who knows what's gonna happen in the next little bit, but we need to, if we've got something that we can get a bid out, we probably need to start bidding it out, because I don't know where costs are gonna go. They may go down, but I don't think so.
Well, we're at a good point right now. Folks are trying to line up spring projects. So I'll reach out to Randy today and give him the go ahead to, he actually said they could get us, penciled into their schedule and hopefully get it out in a month. So I'll get with him today and give him the go ahead.
I'm just curious, what is our agreement with them on cost? That contract we got then.
Right now, we're running between 3 and 4% in fees. Typical AIA contracts are around 6 or 7. Is that what you're talking about as far as?
Right.
Yeah,
What they charge us to do these things.
Yeah.
Our agreement with them.
yeah, it's, I believe, is that correct?
I think it's 3.5.
3.5%.
3%, that's
I think that's right.
that's reasonable, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's,
Oh, yeah, I mean, you get on with it, and you'll get no better.
just let, the county know that we're gonna do that. If that, unless he tells you to put strong brakes on it, then we'll probably have to talk about it, even talk about it the next meeting. And I just can't wait.
but I'll go ahead and get Randy started on the construction documents, and at least that way we can get a good package put together and hopefully get it out on the street by the end of, hopefully mid-January, into January.
Yeah, I went through the other day, and it's, some of us getting in some of our letter boxes, when it rains hard.
Yeah.
We good.
Do you guys want to update on any of the other projects like roads or access roads or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, in terms of our access roads, at Giles High School, I know Bob Sheeler has submitted the information to the town of Harrisburg. We're waiting back on information back from them to kind of get the go-ahead on that project. In terms of the project at Eastern, I do believe that we're waiting on some information back from that as well. We need to purchase the land. I do believe they're also looking at the doing the survey. Is that correct?
He's trying to get quotes, to
Get
get the
quotes on
survey done, gotta get the
survey.
survey done before we can move forward trying to purchase land, but looks like he's got, reached out to 3 different entities to try to get quotes, and he's got a quote from one, but he's waiting on the other 2.
How did he finally decide to do that out there? I mean, when ZM looked at it, they had a couple different ways.
We're gonna do this.
Is it
Call it
basically
straight shot.
Straight shot, straight,
Yeah.
yeah.
parking lot straight?
That's one I like, they had one we swore over, took it into the lot.
Yeah, we got, it's a straight shot.
So they're gonna be
It's
the
about-
straight,
Good job.
It's about 32,400 square feet, or about 3/4 of an acre. That's what it's figured.
oh, okay. In terms of the track, Bob is still working on the track. He's got Bobby Fisher working on the brush down there so we get a better idea of the embankment and how steep it is. And so they're working on that. He needs to inspect the embankment for soil stability. Once the brush has been cleared out, he needs to inspect the cross tile retaining wall. Also, he's done a little bit of a preliminary survey for the track surface down there and figure out the stormwater drains and discharging needs to get a quote for the paving from Adams or another paving contractor. And, he needs to put something together, and he'll get with Dr. Arias now. I think we're meeting with him next
Plan, I think,
week.
the current, well, meet next week, so.
So,
At paving, I talked to Chris. The county's got much paving to do too. It looks like I think we talked about, they asked to repave the two parking lots at the elementary school in ours. Didn't it?
Especially that low.
That's the lower one right there. That's the park.
It looks like we would get all this paving with us and the county's gonna do, lump it together and bid it off. You get somebody else that's more interested in doing a bigger project.
yeah,
May get a better price on all this.
I think once we get to that point, we do need to reach out here, or we reach out to Adam, whether it be Adams or another contractor, and just ask them about giving us a lump sum.
Which it's gonna be spring now and all of it, but
Yeah, but we need to be ready, because the county's ready to go. We need to know what cost is, and then we need to know if we can, because what I don't wanna do is they do all this paving and then that project's not done.
So,
Somebody else will be sitting in this seat.
try to keep, get it all up together for you can. Spring bigger before you know it.
it'll be here, yeah. We know at the baseball field, Bob's working on drawing of elevations of the school seat. In terms of the embankment wall, what shoring we need, he's trying to get the contour lines for the baseball field, develop the cut and fill. Just doing some more investigation, design a center field wall to approximately 350 foot of distance. And do a sketch on that, original set of control plan, he's developing that.
So there's 100% going with the wall. I guess that's the one thing. Is it the wall, or because Mr. Helvey, I talked to him before, he was good with kind of a
Slope,
slope up, and I know if we do a wall, it's going to be. It's
Straight, you're gonna be.
yeah, well, it's going to be.
Or straight.
There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of issues if you do that. That are going to be cost issues too. So.
I think we can hammer out some of those details next week when we meet with Bob. That was my initial, belief as well, that we're gonna do a kind of a gentle slope back up toward the school. I think he's looking at all possibilities there to see what will work out best.
I mean, if you could get it done cheaply, with a wall, great. But you know, if it's something that's going to be safe, attractive, effective, all those things that can be done with the slope, and it's significant cost savings, that's what we need to do. Because
that's pretty much our construction, kind of a little projects. Y'all have any questions about those or anything?
Just remind you again, if the line plan is offered, they'll take all the excess dirt off the project. They'll pay for it, they'll pay for all the everything.
We need to have, as far as the baseball field, we probably need to have that completed and ready to go no later than June.
It's going to have to start, as soon as the baseball season's over.
As soon as the baseball season's over.
I had talked to, because I think that in the former softball field down there is in infield of the track. I talked to Coach Lowe and some others about it. Soccer's using it for practice up until probably middle school soccer uses it for practice. The varsity usually is using the game field. But after about May 1st, county brought in dirt, somebody brought in dirt, filled in that baseball field, wasn't the greatest dirt. But we need to look at, if they want to, and I think they do, because we use that as a football practice field, but there's tons of rocks and stuff, that thing needs to be tilled and reseeded. But it's something that, if we got it, and I don't know that it's something that actually, that we would even need to spend a lot of money on. I think it's athletic fund or somebody could do it, or the school athletic fund could do it, and volunteers, as far as just tilling up the practice field down there, reseeding it, getting 20 people out there with rakes and raking it and getting the rocks off of it and ready to go. Because there's rocks now. I mean, I have to move kids in practice so they don't step on rocks or fall on rocks. And
We'll go ahead and look into that as well.
Only other thing, Mr. Brown, keep in mind too is on the baseball field, I tried to get it done first, that plan. Was that's gotta be submitted, you gotta get set erosion control plan, that's gotta go to Christiansburg. And they said, Brian told me he could take up to 2 months to review it. So soon we can get that baseball and so we get the plan to Christiansburg, get approved.
Okay. We will,
If we wait till February or something before we get that plan to them, it's gonna push it.
we'll relay that to Bob and, see what we can do to kind of fast track that project and see where we get it going for you.
I mean, I think both of them gotta get a little priority to them.
Any questions on these?
And last time I talked to Chris, he said he thought he could, the public works crew county could do the road to Hagley. So you know, that's one Easter, where they have time, much as was to do out there, he said they could do it with Hagley.
We're just waiting, we're waiting to hear back from.
We're just gonna go
Keep blowing along.
on. Get park close.
Update you on the bid information for Giles and Harris High School and the Tech Center. The lowest, this is the information from GMM, lowest combination of bids, Giles High School. And if you all are comfortable, I know we can't want to approve it today, but if you're comfortable giving us consensus, that way we can let GMM know, and then we can start working on getting construction documents taken care of and contracts taken care of, so we can get somebody on the hook. Giles High School, anticipate K&A construction. That's the low bid, $16,732,500. There is an ad alternate, for $100,000. I'll come back and tell you what that is after I tell you what Narrows High School is as well. Narrows High School, low bid was, RL Price Construction. That's $13,500,000. And there's an ad alternate for $250,000 there. And the Technology Center roof, AAR Roofing was $1,202,168.
What's that?
$1,202,168.
Can you explain to me the ad alternate? I'm not as familiar with construction
I was
terms.
gonna say, that the ad alternate is that for both of those projects is for them to do the work in the evenings. That's gonna be an additional cost.
And do we include in those contracts, penalties for missing deadlines and milestones and that sort of thing?
What's the terminology? Yeah, they're,
So we cover that like in case they fall behind.
but the dates, just so you're aware, the time frame, the roof, they projected 150 days.
Okay,
The work for Giles High School projected 650 days. And the work at Narrows High School, they projected 600 days.
See, what happened is you used to get like 360, you get like a year. But supply chain issues during COVID, these contractors started getting hit because they couldn't get, they could do the work, they just couldn't get the supply.
They can't get the equipment.
So what they do is now they give you this extraordinarily long deadline without, you hope they get it done. If these guys work on a roof for 150 days, they're gonna make money to lose.
yeah,
It's just,
or like is there an incentive for doing it earlier that we offer?
They want to get it done so they go on to the next job.
you see this sometimes in commercial contracts, but not usually in the public side.
Yeah.
Well, that's already baked in.
Right, okay, thank you.
And there's some more context in there to the other reason, and that's a conversation we need to have. If you're comfortable with the ad alternate costs, we'll have that conversation as well. We'll include that. But it will be challenging I believe, we've asked both principals prior to getting these bids, could they give up Giles 6 classrooms, Naris 4 classrooms, move them in the building so every room is going to be utilized every block of the day, every period of the day. And that will be, that's gonna be a challenge, because they'll have to put up partitions in the building, they won't be able to access it, they'll have to figure out ways to go around, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why the ad alternate is there. It was included. Because we anticipated the work would have to be done in the evenings, similar to what we're doing at Mason.
And I know I was late, but they've been working in the evenings out there?
They're working 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., Monday through Thursday.
At the high school, no, don't room, utilizing the text room, classroom.
And I'd have to check with Kevin, I don't know that there's, classrooms out there. They start in the classroom and go into the shop, into their lab shop areas. I think it'd be a tough, but that's a potential, but that would be tough.
Why don't you tell them the cost of it? Just.
That's what I was going next. So you know what was projected for each project. The roof at the tech center, anticipated cost that we projected, what, a year ago, six months ago, however long.
Yeah, this is 12 months when we did
a
the
year
test
ago.
count.
The roof at the tech center, we projected at just over $1.8 million. So you see where it came in. Giles High School, when we did this original projection, we were talking HVAC, roof and windows, safe school entrance, and the lighting in the auditorium. That was projected at 18.7, just over 18.7 million. Keep in mind, Giles High School, we have what I just mentioned, plus an elevator. We added lockers in the locker room, bleachers in the gym. I think it's.
So these quotes include those extra things that we added?
What I just gave you
Okay.
includes that, yes.
You'd be happy.
What was that number again, Terry?
16.
We had projected just over
Right, I got that.
18.7. Giles High School came back at 16,732,500 with an alternate for doing the work in the evenings at 100,000. Naris High School, again, projections before were HVAC roof, safe school entrance, lighting, and sound in the auditorium. That was 13,433,000. What I just shared with you includes that, plus the elevator, plus the lockers, plus the bleachers. So at 13,500,000 plus the ad alternate of 250,000.
So I think the 100,000 at Giles is, I think, we take that and run with it. I think the 250,000, I think, we discussed that with RL Price. I mean, I given where they are in the project, I think they've got some, just comparing the proportionality of it, they've got some room in there. Maybe we'll work with them, see if there's something that we can come up that gets it closer to that 100,000. Something better ballpark.
Well, I'm assuming, I'm hearing from you all consensus that we can tell ZMM to start moving forward to work on the documents, finalize the documents. I'll bring it to you officially at the board meeting on the 18th for you all to approve. But this way, between now and then, we can at least work on getting documents taken care of and start signed and that sort of stuff.
And someone will have the negotiation with them about that.
Well, that's the conversation. I wanted to make sure that I can tell them, CMM, okay, we shared this with the board, the consensus is they're comfortable with this, except we need to have a conversation. Can you have a conversation with RL Price? We need to get that ad alternate lowered.
And we can work with them. I mean, there's a little cushion there, and then there's also probably some stuff that we can do, you know, that discuss that schedule a little bit of how that would work, so we don't mess up the educational day, but at the same time, respect the fact they're trying to get a job done.
And that's, I mean, that is, I mean, that we could consider, but that's gonna add, you're adding cost there. You could consider mobile units, but I don't know if we want to, I don't know that we wanna go there. I don't think that's what we wanna do.
I mean, that's, mobile units, to rent those probably gonna cost you,
It's gonna
what
cost
you
you
gonna
just as
save.
much. It's gonna cost you just as much, I think. So we'll have that conversation with ZM with Randy as soon as we're done today. See what we can come up with. And then I'll get back to you and I'll let you know for sure if something goes right.
Did the board of supervisors have any comments on everything that you presented on?
I thought, I won't speak for Mr. Pennington or Mr. Buckham, but I thought that they were relatively pleased with what we shared with them.
There weren't any negative comments.
Chris said good news.
Yeah, Chris said good news, and John, Mr. McCoy were, but
The only thing I heard him say was like you, the 250 for the marriage, the add-on. Chris said we could negotiate that probably.
I mean, it's like all of us, we it's an exorbitant amount of money, but at the same time, I feel like it's a decent considering what the environment is.
I sure everybody's happy.
Okay. So we'll have that conversation with them and let you know what comes from there. Following a couple of our board, anything else with renovation of projects or anything? Following our board budget meetings at some of our schools, you heard a couple comments at the elementary and middle schools about the playground equipment and that sort of stuff, and it was requested that we get some idea of what those costs would be, what to replace it, to repair it, et cetera. We began that conversation several weeks ago with a representative from a playground company to ask them to come in, look at each school, Eastern, Macy, Nares Elementary, look at the equipment that we have, what's there, what can be done to get more life out of it, what needs to be removed, what could be put in, etc. He provided some information back to us about what they thought we could do at one school in Nares Elementary. For instance, we could recoat the playground equipment that they have with some material that would give us probably another 5 to 7 years life out of it. But they're working on also some of the quotes right now for Eastern, Macy, and additional equipment at Nares Elementary. So I don't have all that yet, but they're working on that to get you what it would be to.
Are these things stuff that we could add in? We still got, of course, Eastern's going out soon, but if we could do an alternate for that, on all three of these projects, because we got the lip line.
I think, again, we could ask and see if we could add them, but I think what they'll tell us is we probably might be better to do it on our own, so that we don't get the markup.
Just check with them and see. I just want to make sure we're.
All right. Next thing, we had a conversation I don't remember, I think it was at the last work session as well, or maybe in the work session before that, about the potential, the need for a central freezer. And during that conversation, we said we were gonna have somebody, a ZMM representative, go look at the generators at Eastern, Giles High School, and Narrows High School. Based on that review, what was shared back with us was that primarily those three schools have emergency generators and emergency distribution transfer switch panels. What they don't have is they don't have an optional standby availability. We could add the coolers and the freezers to the generators, but we're gonna need to tap the existing feed circuit after the generator and add a branch and all that other stuff to make sure that it's done appropriately so it could handle and do it accurately. It's about $35,000 what they project to do that for the three schools total. 10,000 for Eastern, about 15 for Giles, and about 12 for Narrows High School. What I did, after we shared this yesterday with Chris and the board of supervisor members yesterday as well, emailed Randy yesterday evening to see can we add this to the projects as an add alternate to see if this could be done then. And I've not heard back yet, so I don't know what that answer is. But I wanted you to know that we're pursuing that and looking for it. So if we do that, if we have the capability to do that at those three schools, that's a whole lot better than going and purchasing a $75,000, $100,000 central. That way we don't have to mobilize people, move stuff to a central location, then move it back. We have the ability to run each site. Plus, from that conversation, I also asked Randy, is it possible to add at Macy and Narrows Elementary a generator that would provide the same capability as part of their projects? Because right now, those two schools don't have a generator like the other three. And that's what, those three were added, Giles, Narrows High School, and Eastern were added when we ran, Giles and Narrows were added in 99, 2000. Macy, Eastern was added in, whatever that was, 2000, whatever, I forget whatever year we renovated, 2009, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I think,
Be done.
yeah, well, and the thought is to, we have to have 5 freezers. Okay, we've got 5 buildings that have cafeterias in them. If we add a 6th one, that's something that we're responsible for, so then we're responsible for replacing 6 freezers. You're gonna have to, if we're gonna spend our money, we might as well spend it back with power backup for these and then, replace them as, their lifespan goes out.
Just like the roof, pay now, pay later.
So as I get information back on those, we'll update you on how they've been added, where they'll be added, that sort of thing.
All right, let's move into school nutrition. I passed out some information to you. Shared some information with you there. The first sheet, the one that has the green and the red on it, that is our, what we call our progress update for the month. I'll let you review that. And then the second sheet is our traditional cafeteria tracker that Katrina does for us each month. The snapshot, I will caution you on the information on the right-hand side there for Giles and Narrows High School. We did not have an opportunity to include in the after-school meals for this month. We have not received all the information from the high schools to do the reimbursement for that. So we're waiting to see what those numbers will be. But right now, without that, you can see where we're at without that reimbursement. We did see just a little bit of a downtick in participation rates, for two schools as far as breakfast. And a little bit of a decrease, just a little bit of a decrease in our à la carte sales. But anyway, that's our information there, for the progress. And of course, the second sheet I shared with you, that is our, original tracker. So if you review that and have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you.
The decrease in à la carte sales across the board, I mean, because that's so consistent, is that just because of days in school?
And I talked to David yesterday, we did have, I believe we had a few less days
Okay.
this month.
Because for all of them to be down, I would think it would have to be something that's not a variable across the schools, like it's pretty consistent that they're all lower.
Right. I know they are doing their very best to increase à la carte sales. We had 17 days served, 4 holidays, 1 teacher workday, and 3 Thanksgiving days.
Yeah,
So our days were a little
less.
less. So you're gonna see a little bit less with that number.
Dr. Brown, I was thinking, on this sheet,
Yes, sir.
can we maybe put right there as we get along a fiscal year running total, just of where we stand, gain, loss?
Mm.
Kind of like we got up there for the month, just,
Kind of like what we're doing on our actual accounts tracker. Kind of like our beginning balance, our ending balance.
right. And maybe even on that one, I'd just like to know where we stand for I mean, I can tell what we're doing, you know, this has been a decent month. We need to, I just want to know where we stand yearly.
Yes, sir. I'll get that added in for our next work session, okay?
Do you think like a running year total or a year over year?
Well, just running year this year, I mean, I think if a year over year would be good too, but let's get that first and then see what.
So you want a running year total?
Yeah, just so we know we're red and black.
Yes, sir.
Are you having, are you getting the support that you need for your initiatives in the cafeterias? Anything we can do?
I know Nares High School has really, chipped in. Brian's been very supportive as far as breakfast. I think it tells the tale as far as his numbers. At 70%. And, you know, one of our analysis was if we could get our breakfast participation up, you know, that would help us. I would love to see our lunch participation go up a little bit. We're working on, you know, I think Ms. Price and I talked about direct marketing, trying to get information out to students directly. We're working on that. I know, trying to share the menus and information. I think the principals, you know, I believe they understand how important this is and how important we need to.
Please know you've got this board's support, and I hope the building administrators need to know that this is part of their building, part of getting these kids fed, keeping our lunch program that we can feed everybody. So, yeah, to the extent that you've got initiatives, we need to support it. So, and
I appreciate that, Mr. Buckland, and I'll relay that on to our administrators at our next ADM meeting. One of the things too, you know, December is usually a bad month for us. 15 days. I've challenged our cafeteria managers we need to utilize every USDA commodity product that we can on our menus. We changed some things up, you know, try to add some different and interesting things in on our menus. We're getting ready to start our garden bar at Macy as a pilot project in January. We're working through the logistics on that. Emily Cook, been working really closely with Emily as far as the county wellness program. She started the Smart Cart program at Macy. She's doing that as a pilot program right now. So we started that on Monday. We're going to roll that out at the beginning of the year in January to all of our schools. the snacks and things that she's been bringing. Now we're going to offer those to the teachers. We're running that through our point of sale system in the cafeterias, so hopefully we can keep some data on that for her. But she is providing the snacks. She will then bill us for that, and we will cut her a check for what has been sold essentially. But we've been working on a lot of good initiatives, a lot of good things with our school nutrition. As far as summer food, we've begun our planning for that. We're in the early stages of that. We had a meeting with the Ministerial Association, Mr. Williams and I had an initial kickoff meeting on that. We are in the process of getting our interest survey out to the public to try to gauge geographically where our need is. I've got the survey from last year, working with Mr. Campbell to get that on our Facebook page so we can get that out. That was one of the comments from the Ministerial Association. Once we figure out where our geographic need is, then we can identify maybe hubs where we can feed from. I had hoped that we could incorporate some daycares and so forth in there. I had found out we could actually provide after-school snacks to them if they did not receive federal money. Just preliminary information I've got back. I know one of them received some USDA money, so that's not a good viable option, but still need to have some conversations with them. I know Mr. Williams had made contact with our Amish community out in Whitegate. I had to follow up with them to see what their interest may be. We still need to determine where we're going to have summer school. And I know that's a moving target, but that's going to be logistically, that's going to come into play of where we have summer school this year. I don't know that Macy is a viable option for summer school.
It's gonna be challenging in the grand scheme of things anyway, but we're gonna possibly have renovation going on at all schools.
It's going to be a challenge. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to figure out, when things get out, go to bid, and we get contractors on sign at a site. Okay, can we use this for 5 weeks and have access coming in the back door while you all are working on the front, something like that. So those are things we're going to work on.
I have a meeting.
You really think Nares Elementary would be?
Nares Elementary, they're gonna be the easiest. They won't be able to come in the front, they'll have to come in the back. Because that's where the majority of the work's there in that front, secure entrance is there in that front area. So you'd have to come to the backside. Eastern, if you think about it, you look at Eastern, bulk of their work's there in that front entrance, extending the safe school entrance, changing that classroom up there behind the bathroom into the office, changing the office into a classroom, so that work's there. So you might be able to come in, parent hallway, come down there and go to some classrooms to do some summer school work there, classroom there. But Macy still, I think, is still out. Giles and Nares High School, again, we have to have a conversation with the contractors. Can we have access to 10 rooms? These 10 rooms, and you have the rest of it, that's where summer school will be. We just have to have those conversations.
So there's a lot of logistics to work out, but one of the things, Mr. Williams, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things we heard from the Ministerial Association is we need to see where the need is in the community. There's also an organization, it's called Feeding Southwest. I haven't had a chance to reach out to them to see how or if they could partner with us. I know one of the main things, our focus is to feed the kids this summer. And that's why we've started this process of planning so early. We've got so many moving parts with our construction projects, logistics, summer school, and things like that. So we just need to figure out what we can do, what we can't do, where we can do it, how we can do it, if we can do it. So we're actively trying to plan that and get information back to you.
Larry Green up to Newport Rec Center, he was there too. he told us I could do well to help too.
You know, do we want to provide meals on a daily basis? Do we want to do 10-day drops? Do we want to do a combination? Again, it's just a lot of moving parts to see what we can and can't do, and add construction into it. It's going to be just another layer of complexity.
But I think we can get 2 or 3 churches in each district of the county to help us.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem. They're eager to help.
I think one of the concerns that I heard, and I can't speak, I can only speak in general terms, what I heard is the storage capacity. When you start doing like 10-day drops or something like that, just the enormous bulk of food that you have, a lot of these folks don't have the storage or the refrigerator space to store those meals to hand out. Is that kind of what you heard too?
Pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's concerned we will have storage.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, when you start talking about milk drops, I mean, we're talking half gallons of milk. You're talking, and then the cold storage. These folks don't have the capacity to store.
Most of them, a lot of them do too.
Yeah.
Rec Center's got it. Methodist Church Pembroke's got it. Mormon Church's got it. A lot of them do.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to see about geographic need. So then we can maybe match resources, as far as resources in the community with the geographic need.
Do we have a timeline or a goal for deciding which school? I know we're dependent on the contractors, but what is like the goal we've set for ourselves to determine where summer school will be? Like we will know by the end of January or beginning of February, like how early can we know that?
I think with the 2 high schools, we probably could know it by the end of January,
Okay.
because we'll have contractors by then that we can have a conversation with.
Yeah.
Eastern, probably into January, I would think, as well, because we could have a contractor on there. Nares Elementary, it depends on when that goes out to bid,
Yeah.
But again, Nares Elementary has the least, but they're gonna be doing windows there, so that's,
In the gym,
and somebody will be doing work on the gym floor,
which is,
Yeah.
so,
which is needed.
Yeah.
which will take
Very
that
much.
away from
Summer
anything,
school.
summer school being used too, so, again, that's a puzzle to put together.
Seems to be 4 weeks.
4 weeks is what we run.
And the gym floors, I'll just tell you right now, the schedule is, the earlier we can get them, somebody's schedule, the better. It's very difficult to coordinate that logistically with our floor finishing contractors. But, a lot of moving parts with our summer feeding and summer school construction. Any questions about school nutrition or any of the programs that we got going, anything with our partnership with Ms. Cook or anything like that?
Hearing nothing, next item, just to make you aware, the school security equipment grant, as you know, each year we submit that grant application in July, August timeframe to DOE for, each school to be able to install or update security equipment, whether it's the radios, cameras, the systems in the front office where somebody, individual scans their license, et cetera, those type things. We were notified, a couple weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving break, that we did receive, one school, did receive grant funding through that, grant program, and that's Mason McClary. Mason McClary received $33,040 for Mason. So, they'll work on the rest of this year, looking at the radios, the cameras that need to be updated, systems, that sort of thing. We also have a one-time security grant funding we got last summer that's being looked at to be utilized as well, and that's looking at updating all the handheld radios so that they're better quality so you can hear them, updating the base units so they're digital as well. So that's being worked through now. Mileage reimbursement. I understand that they want to have a conversation about mileage reimbursement, so we want to put that on the agenda as well. And I think you have some information there.
I shared with you folks the actual policy as far as expense reimbursement for mileage. What we currently reimburse for mileage.
Currently, we reimburse 44.5 cents a mile. If you use your personal car and applied for a county car and one wasn't available. If one is not available, excuse me, if you choose to, if somebody chooses to use their personal vehicle, they get reimbursed 22.25 cents a mile.
Also, the reimbursement rate, usually folks go off the IRS reimbursement rate. That is actually 67 cents per mile for 2024.
State 62.
Just the research that I did, the VDOE usually runs or parallels with the IRS reimbursement. So that's what directed me back toward the IRS reimbursement rate, but I can double check that for you.
I think state 62, I saw it yesterday. Workforce, they reimburse 62 cents.
I can look at that.
That's state rate for sure.
Anyway, I shared that policy DLC-R as far as our reimbursement rates there. Also, Mr. Williams had asked for our mileage. This kind of ties back in with our mileage for our county cars. I asked Terry Jones at the School West Garage to pull the mileage for 12 months for our cars. And you have his information there in front of you. That should be for all of our buses, our cars and our vans that we utilize on a daily basis.
How about explain that a little bit? I don't understand exactly what you, how you do that. What you, this,
That mileage, that is the mileage that each car, according, if I understand it correctly from Terry, that's how many miles each car is used per year in a 12-month time frame. Some of our cars are used 3,000 miles a year, 50,000 miles a year, 17,000 miles a year, 12,000 miles a year. That is the mileage they have on record for a 12-month span. That's how I understood it from Mr. Jones.
well, it don't look right to me, maybe. But can we put 40,000 miles a year on one car?
Some of them we do. I mean, we run them back and forth to Whitfield, Bradford City, or twice a day. I know we have, currently if we have children that fall under McKinney-Vento and the Homeless Act, I know we're transporting kids, correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Mustang, we're transporting children to and from Bradford daily. We're transporting children to and from Griffith County daily. So some of these cars are being utilized, our vans, our trip vans out here, the large Ford cargo or passenger vans, those are some of our most utilized vehicles. So yeah, we're running some of these cars pretty hard.
But the average of them is up to 35,000 miles a year. I'm not always, what you got down
That's,
here? 3, 2.
some of them are utilized 2,000 miles a year, some of them are utilized 40,000 miles a year.
If they run around the roof for a day.
I do know, I think there were some questions about the 3 Ford Fusions at Giles High School. I did some checking on that. Two of those vehicles are used to transport homeless children under McKinney Vento, and one is used to transport sped students to and from, I do believe, Griffith County. So yes, you see them parked there a lot, but they are being utilized in the morning and the afternoon to go.
I don't think so, Mr. Brown, I disagree. I've been watching. They ain't always there.
Okay.
What about the ones down here? All Fusion sitting out here, there's half a dozen, 4 Fusion sitting there in the parking lot.
It's one of those, and I'm just giving you my perspective on it. It's one of those things of, you may see them all there one day, and again, you might come next week and they might all be gone.
I just find it hard to believe it. I mean, you got that thing for us, all vehicles on this sheet, but you gotta set the report there last meeting or before it. There's 48 vehicles, we own 48 vehicles.
And I think that includes PSA vehicles as well, or not PSA vehicles. Is that a good term for them? The service trucks that Bobby needs? Maintenance and need. Those include like the maintenance trucks and so forth on there as well, not the trip cars or anything like that. That was every vehicle that we owned.
I don't believe all of it, at least I don't think we had all these, there's a lot of vehicles county vehicles. Ones, other works that you use, and probably some of the vehicles are county.
Well,
My thing is, I think we've got too many vehicles, in my opinion, and the taxpayers, they're sitting a lot. It looks like it'd be better signed out, to have a better way of doing it, not have so many. Giles County Public School System, 48 vehicles, that's too many.
I can have Ms. Carnes run y'all the log book. I mean, we log these cars in and out every day as far as the use.
well, here's what I'm saying. I'm seeing some of these cars, some of them we gotta use them. We're transporting kids in them, we gotta use them. But, if we're getting 2,000, if you're running 2,000 miles a year, you're reimbursing employees 67 cents if we went to the federal rate. Just use that. That's $1,340 a year. We lose 4 or 5 times that on these newer vehicles in depreciation. That value's going down. That we could, we're just losing it. Not to mention insurance and not to mention maintenance. So if we're driving a car 2,000 miles a year and it's not essential for student transportation, we're losing $8,500 a year in that car. And that's, what we'd like to do is get some of these things. We understand the vans, and we like to spend $60,000 on it, but when we've got $30,000 vehicles that are losing $6,000 a year plus the insurance costs and everything else, it doesn't take long to get the money for the van.
It's just, I believe, and hopefully I'm not misspeaking here, it's just which direction does the board want to go? Do you want to up the mileage reimbursement for staff to use their cars, or do we want to continue?
Well, we definitely do that. I really think we could surplus 10 vehicles out of all our fleet. And we can do a better job of managing those and pay the mileage, and we'll be way ahead of years. Taxpayers will be way better off.
Because I have 100% agree. We need to get some more vans. We're gonna have to replace those vans to the mileage that we're doing. And they're getting used, and there are some other things that are getting used, but there's a lot of newer model vehicles that are getting 2,000 miles a year on, and that's, if we were getting 12,000 miles a year on them, that would be different. But when you're getting 2, that's, and again, I think this is more used for employee, either running between schools, and I understand that's a perk that we have. And I don't know that increasing the mileage reimbursement rate might not be the way to go, because I think that's cheaper than us owning those cars. At least that many of them. I mean,
We just got too many. We got too many cars.
Well, what's these, where we driver's ed, and we just
I do.
roll them over into the fleet?
So how I understand it, since I've come here, what we do is every year we will replace one driver's ed vehicle. Like, I think this year is Giles, we'll put out the bid for a new driver's ed vehicle, then that vehicle will cycle back into the fleet. Some of these cars are what we call sped cars. It depends on what funding stream they came out of. Some of these cars are funded through SPED monies, some of them are funded through general fund. Like my van, for example, is funded through school nutrition. I actually have two vans, my van and, the van that Michael Painter drives. Those were actually funded through school nutrition. But, yeah, we do recycle back our driver's ed cars, which have been Ford Escapes. I've been purchasing Ford Escapes from both of those.
And I understand, we need to have good vehicles, we gotta buy the driver's ed cars, that's part of it. But I think we need to, it's rare that we surplus something that's a decent vehicle that we can get something out of. I've kind of raised that issue before. I do think that, if we get a newer model in, we probably ought to get a newer model out. And some of these, I think we really need to evaluate because, if you're just getting more and not getting rid of it, it's just sitting there and it's,
It's on the insurance,
it's on our insurance, and the older it gets, the more it depreciates and the less you're gonna get out of it.
but that, as far as the mileage reimbursement, that I do anticipate that would take a, policy update from the board.
It's in policy right now, what we reimburse mileage.
What I'd like to see is, we need to take a deeper dive into what you think. I would like a recommendation, if we got rid of a certain number of vehicles, what we could get rid of. Evaluate how that would affect, any programs or anything with that. We don't wanna do that, but the least disruptive way to shed some of our vehicle fleet, surplus that, get some money in, that we could potentially purchase some, some of these newer model vans, or other, larger capacity vehicles. And just evaluate that, and then as part of that discussion, then we'll continue to evaluate that reimbursement rate. But, like I said, you keep in mind, what I'm looking at is, what's the cost for us to pay somebody else to drive 2,000 miles a year versus us to keep a vehicle to save that miles reimbursement rate? Again, I'm not advocating in any way that we start hauling around students and teachers' cars or anything like that. That's.
No, but as I understand what you're saying is if we have a conference, maybe I could take my own vehicle to a conference or a work session or something like that.
Yeah, because me personally, I'm just one board member, I feel like that we keep a lot of cars for people to go to conferences or different things on those times. I know in the spring that you have every vehicle that you have out, but it doesn't make sense to me to hold some of these vehicles to drive 2,000 miles to conferences when we can, get those out, invest that into something that we're actually putting the mileage in.
For students.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We just need to alter the policy, the way the policy reads in. Because currently it says if they choose to drive their own vehicle, they only get half the reimbursement.
Well, I think that's a discussion going forward, but I think, and when I'm saying this, there's no way that I think it's fair that when the IRS gives 67 cents, that we'd say, hey, staff members, you're gonna go to this conference, but we're only gonna give you 44 cents. That's not what any of us want. That's why we would say, if we're gonna do this, and there's gonna be less availability of cars, then we need to be fair to our employees to give them what the IRS says.
And you're also looking, if we do shed some of our vehicles, that's gonna take some load off of our garage down there for preventative maintenance and so forth, a lot of these. So you might be saving some extra funds through the garage as far as PMs and things like that. So we'll take a deeper dive in, look at it, see what we come up with, and have some more information for you in our next work session.
Another thing I might look at, I was talking to Jim in Baltimore County, he says they rent a lot of these vans.
You had mentioned that.
Busy time of year when they reuse them a lot, they rent them, especially strict to go way off across country or something. He said, if it breaks down, I got another van sitting there, I'm back on the road.
You had mentioned that, yeah.
The busy times of year when you need, rent one for a couple of months. Take all the trips in and then turn it back in. So they all sell all summer. Most of the time. But I believe we can tighten it up, I'm quite convinced.
We'll get that information for you, continue the conversation. Information on flashing school zone lights. There, Eastern, there is high school, and there is on there.
I reached out again to get updated quotes for those from the two vendors that originally got information from. Also, heard back from the town engineers, Terry Nicholson. They shared with me that they would like 5 total signs now, 3 for Mayor's High School, 2 for Mayor's Elementary. He shared with me that their preference would be solar, for solar signs. He shared with me the last time I talked with him that the town engineers would be amenable to installing the signage. So again, I reached out to two vendors, and with those 2 vendors, one vendor is cheaper for solar, and one is cheaper for AC for the wired version. Currently, we also had looked at upgrading our signs at Eastern. Those are currently AC, electric signs. I know Mr. Williams had broached the subject of extending the school zone at Eastern if we did put up new signs.
Well, if we put the new entrance up the other way, it ought to be up the road another couple of foot.
That is something we need to double check with VDOT with to see if we can lengthen the school zone.
What about the process there? Do they have authority over setting the school zone? Because, or we're going to get the approval process with VDOT?
We'll have to verify that with VDOT as well.
I think ours does, because they maintain their own streets.
Yeah.
Would you like to know the cost approximately of each sign?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. So for the solar, it looks like each sign, that includes poles, shipping, everything, is around $4,745.99. For the AC version, the price is around $4,545.99. So the difference between the 2 vendors for the solar was about $326.01. The difference between the 2 vendors for AC was $480.99 between the 2.
How long do the solar panels, the battery storage in that last? Do they have, I mean, I offer solar, but at the same time, I think, if it's $350 difference, it sounds great, but if 2 years from now, we gotta spend $1,000 on lithium battery.
Did they ever say why they preferred solar? Was it that they?
It might be. I did not take a deep dive into that subject with Mr. Nicholson, but I do believe it has to probably do with power, getting actual power to that sign.
It's gonna cost a lot more, but they got breaker boxes and all in.
Yeah.
And Appalachian, go through Appalachian, get all the way down, it's gonna cost a lot more, all of them to 300.
Even if we did that, if we extend the school zone at Eastern, I'd have to get with Jesse to see if he could trench up to the new location. I know we probably would be okay at the location more toward Blacksburg, but the location more toward Nanosonic would entail probably moving that electrical trenching. But just in preliminary conversations with Mr. Nicholson, their preference was for solar. I've got prices for both. There's about 10 to 12 week, one vendor, I think, quoted about a 10 to 12 week lead time, 10 to 12 weeks lead time of getting those back. So
I think we need to do it myself, that gets solar, but I think they need to know when we buy them, it's up to them to install and maintain it, it's up to them.
well, currently, the ones at Eastern, Dr. Argas, correct me if I'm wrong, the ones at Eastern, we have to schedule. So we actually have to go in and do the
Michelle, I think
calendar.
Michelle controls the schedule on those.
I'm talking about the ones in there, council needs to know, we buy the solar lights for them, and it's up to them to maintain them. Instead of,
If they need like a new
if they
battery.
need to add something, it's up to them. We'll buy them originally.
I think that's fair.
I think that's super
I think
fair.
it's fair.
I mean, and I also want,
If they want the solar, then they
and
should.
if, I hope they understand too that, you know, my question was about enforcement. I understand that they're going to be camera enforced, which, you know, that's not, I hope people understand that's not, we're gonna get it, we're gonna provide the school zone where they want it, we'll provide the signs, but to the extent that the enforcement of it's not this department.
And I'm gonna be checking to see if it's enforced.
Well, they're gonna use, I think they're gonna use camera enforcement.
Heard-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's what I heard too. I heard the camera, they look at it. Not a private company, does it?
Yeah, so I mean, that's, again, that's not, I just, we'll get the signs.
How would you like us to proceed? Would you like us to go ahead and proceed as far as purchasing the signs? Do we need to have another in-depth discussion with the town mayors, exactly what they want? Do we need to have some kind of formal agreement in place as far as maintenance?
Yes,
Yes.
So forth and
yes,
so
to the
on?
formal agreement.
Well, and
Maintenance.
I think they need, you know, I think, you know, before, we're sitting here talking about, I think both boards are saying, let's do this, the council and us. But to me, it looks like we need to figure out what whoever's, if they're installing them, you need to get a grasp of, or all of us really need to get a grasp of. I wanna know what the regular costs are on these solar ones versus, you know, installing them, you know, just kind of a ballpark. I think they need to know that if they're gonna do the installation and they're preferring the solar, I'd hate to get them something that they end up, in 5 years, it's cost more to replace the batteries and do those things than hardwiring it in.
Yeah.
It's
And
kind
maybe they've already done that research and that's why they are asking for it, but we should have validated it.
I mean, I think for us, in case, you know, for whatever reason, we're responsible for those, we need to make sure we understand what that cost is. It's kind of like the AEDs, you know, you've got to replace the batteries in the pads, they have this cost, but, you know, you've got to continue the cost to keep them up to date.
So I can reach out to our two vendors that we got quotations from and just ask them for some information as far as longevity of batteries, so
Yeah.
forth, life cycle of the sign, so forth and so on. I can
Yes.
reach out.
They got this solar down pretty good now. I think VDOT's using their work.
Well, I know,
Signs.
they got all the money the state does, so.
I can also, discuss it again with Mr. Nicholson. You know, it would make sense if they have electrical near where they're going to install the signs to tap off electrical.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm assuming they want one on, two at the street, the high school, on each ends, and then one
Coming, bottom of the hospital bill, I think is what he said.
not the top, well,
I don't know,
well, I mean, but there's, I know, I think we talked about it before, isn't there a bus, isn't there a plug, there's, we've got power right there at that street, one of the street poles going over the buses.
Is there something plugged up there?
Like right where you turn up.
Could be, it could be, I don't remember if it's.
we have a pole in that
There
parking
is
lot
some.
that we use to plug our buses up, correct?
It's got power there.
I don't know, I just think it's something, I just wanna make sure, you know, we're supportive of this, we've got a good relationship with town mayors, they, anytime we've asked to use their facilities and vice versa, it's very good. It's a safety issue, but I just wanna make sure that we do that we don't rush in and buy something that both of us are upset about because of maintenance costs or what have you, thinking that not having our eyes fully wide open on it.
Yeah, I think emphasis on just based on, I think there was some perception that we didn't want to do this or weren't on board with this, or I believe I read that in the newspaper article. And so I just want to make sure it's super clear that we are very supportive of partnering with the town of Narrows to get the safety signs in place. And we are just trying to do due diligence and make sure that we're not walking into something that is going to cause a financial burden on whomever is going to have ownership over the maintenance of these things in the long term.
Would it be better for and I'm just asking us as a general question. I've reached out to two vendors, just the two vendors that I found.
Mhm.
Would it be better if we said to the town of Ayers, Mr. Nicholson, maybe you could reach out and find what signage you would like?
I agree with you, Mr. Bill, I was bring it up, what's the total cost that you had on the two?
No, this is for 9
I'm talking about
signs.
total cost for the whole thing, whole project, how much cost?
For Eastern and Ayers?
No, not each, keep each now, that's different.
I can do some figuring here real quick.
I agree with him, I think we need to tell them, we'll pay this much on the signs, and let them do it all, we won't be going back and forth in the middle of all that. Cause it's gonna be on the streets, anyway, signs are, it's up to them to maintain.
So for solar, if you take 4745.99 times 5, so it would be roughly $23,729.95 just for the signs and the poles for solar at Nares, for the Nares.
I think we need to tell them we'll pay that much on the project rate and let them run with it.
I think it's fair. If that's what, yeah, I'm fine with that. I still would like to know, just especially, I feel like Eastern's kind of different because the county's if we don't pay for it, the county pays for it, and it's the same bucket of money. But I think we need to know that for deciding what we're gonna put in at Eastern is those costs and batteries and
Yes,
those type things.
Well, for the AC, it's roughly $22,729.95. So what I'm hearing you say is if I reach out to the town of Ayers, or Dr. Arbogast, or one of us reaches out to Terry Nicholson and says, we will give you X amount of money for these signs, whether AC or solar. Is that correct?
Yeah, either we purchase them directly and get them, I don't know what with the warranty and everything else, what that is.
I don't know what the warranty is either, but again, they're gonna need to be scheduled. So if they've gotta be scheduled, we probably need to purchase them so that we have the ability to do the scheduling. Because if we don't purchase them,
That's out of our hands.
then that could be out of our hands. So we need to make sure that we have the ability, at least that's just me sitting here thinking.
That's good.
We need to have the ability to schedule them because days we be late, no days, too late, holidays, we don't want them flashing, so we're gonna have the ability, somebody's gonna have to go in there, we schedule the ones at Eastern, so.
Is that so for all of the other school signs, do we control the maintenance or ongoing cost of those?
My opinion is I would feel more comfortable if the town of Nares picked out their sign that they want from the vendor that they want and us do the schedule. I mean, we give them X amount of money, but we also have the ability to schedule our school calendar in it.
I don't know, there were so many options.
Like I said, these are just two vendors that I picked off, that I Googled essentially.
Found.
Reached out to, give me a quote. I would feel more comfortable if the town of Nares, their public works, maybe they have a vendor they work with, maybe they have somebody they work with. But these numbers are pretty close to the two vendors that I've come up with.
Well, maybe check with him too, if they've looked in, my understanding was they looked into this camera enforcement system and I think the traffic counter didn't justify the company putting in
Flashing
signs,
signs, yes, sir.
whatever that was. If they want that and have that ability, to enforce it, and that's what they decided to do in their town, then maybe check with them and see how much it would cost to do, not put that back on them, but, give them that option, because I want them to be able to, this is investment. Well, I think we all agree that unless you enforce things and have some mechanism of enforcement, it's not money, it's wasted money in some respects. If flashing lights are there and nobody ever gets a ticket, then it's, and probably me and my wife get the first ones, but that's all right.
So I guess, I'd say it'd be me. Again, what I'm hearing is maybe reach out to Mr. Nicholson, have a more in-depth conversation, offer some more information as far as the cost and maintenance for the solar and just broach the subject of, this is what we have found out in terms of cost, would you be comfortable in purchasing the signs? We reimburse you up to a certain point, but we also maintain the ability to schedule the counter.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those things, just work, the message is, we wanna work this out. You all figure out what is best for us. Make sure that both sides have an understanding of, both options, the maintenance costs, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then come back to us, we're in no way, when we're going back and forth, we're saying no. It's just one of those things that they have a meeting, we have a meeting, and you and Mr. Nicholson have to respond to what we're saying, and then, it's always ineffective in these board situations stuff.
It's been going on about 6 months now.
I think the bottom line is,
Two.
and what I've heard is, we're very supportive of their request. We just need to work out the logistics and the details and make sure we're all getting, that they're getting what will suit their purpose the best to maintain safety for their schools. Yes, sir, I'll reach out to the vendors, I'll gather some more information, and we'll have another conversation with Mr. Nicholson, and we'll move forward from here.
Make sure you tell them how much we do. I do appreciate the mayors, the town usually says yes about everything we ask. We appreciate that. So.
And I'll have that information for you, Mr. Buckland, hopefully at our next work session about, that'll also give us some more information on what we can do at Eastern and not do at Eastern, and maybe we can do some investigation as far as with VDOT and that school zone. Because we know we're gonna build a road, we know we're gonna have, what will it take to extend that school zone? So I'll look into that too.
Well, while we're talking about narrows, can I bring up another topic? Are we good on that one?
Unless you have other
Do you guys have
questions.
any other questions?
I don't think so.
I just want to make sure, can we address or just really quickly acknowledge what was the heating and cooling situation that blew up on social media about the rooms were freezing at one of the narrow schools? Have we figured that? Did we have an issue and has that been addressed so that we can tell the world?
Maintenance has worked on it, maintenance has
I
addressed it.
talked to Bobby a couple times, yes.
And I know that.
Was this at the high school or the elementary school? I don't even know.
High
school.
Yeah.
One of the rooms that was in question, that was looked at during the day, and I will say that the temperature that was quoted for us was 68 degrees. So,
I think
Bobby and them have worked on it.
Okay.
There were units that weren't
rolling.
They've addressed them, tried to get them over, and there's some equipment that they need to order now that they're in the process of. We're gonna
But
make sure
they have been in there.
that we have and
I was gonna say,
continue to provide, and make sure the heat's running,
Okay.
whether it's in the building or in the auditorium.
Because I was just curious if we needed to get like some sort of mobile heater or something in there.
I received a phone call, I think it was Monday, from Brian at the high school saying they were having some issues with the heat. I was actually, apologize, I was out sick Monday. I called Dr. Ergast. He contacted Bobby. I actually did follow up with a text with Bobby as far as the heat at the high school. He was on it already. Then I saw some things on social media. I reached back out to Dr. Ergast that night, reached out to Bobby that night. He told me he was continuing to work on it. Again, we had heard information that the one room that there was concern with, the temperature was 68 degrees in there. Bobby and I talked this morning. There is some equipment he needs to order for the boilers at Nares High School. He is on that right now. I think it's 2 pumps and a bearing. He gave us the preliminary cost for that. We, of course, signed off on that immediately. Go do what you need to do. I think there's some, he needs to order some of the other, was it pumps?
It's another,
Pump or a valve for another unit on the roof for the auditorium. We gave him the green light on that as well.
careful that.
It's not that one, it's the other one. The other one, that one was replaced. Got to do the same thing, replace the one on the other.
So we don't need anything temporary. I mean, we're in a super cold snap right now. I mean, we don't need to put anything in these. We've checked the temperatures. Everything looks good in these rooms.
I followed up with Brian, I think it was yesterday. I followed up to see how his temperatures were. At that point, he said he thought they were fine.
Okay.
I have not heard anything else on that. So just so you folks know, if we hear anything, if we see on social media, if we hear anything, if the principal calls us, the first thing is we reach out to maintenance.
For sure.
Where are we? What can we do to help? So forth. So we take these complaints very seriously and we address them as soon as we find out.
And usually what happens is, since I've been on board, and I don't think the rest of you, especially with the older systems that we've had, you know, the first time, you think, up until the week before Thanksgiving, it was that week it was in the 70s.
Still warm.
And then it dropped down, you know, we're
Yes.
over land and it's down 17 degrees. And
Yeah.
when first time you turn those things on and then
Takes a minute.
and Monday mornings, because of the cycling of those systems,
Right.
nobody knows. And there's some situations, same things with air conditioners in the summer.
Yes.
You know, and hopefully this money that we're investing in our buildings and our HVAC systems will fix that for at least decades.
And it's got cold and the way they shut off at a certain time and come on, so then I think it takes a while probably to heat the buildings back up. I think that's, you know, probably a lot of what goes on, which I understand they do that because they're trying to save money but I think that's a big thing, is they go off at a certain time and don't come on to a certain time.
Yeah.
That's not
And I don't know if that's a timing thing that we're able to adjust or change. And again, I know that our teams are doing everything that they're supposed to do. I'm just trying to acknowledge that we, contrary to some things that might be floating on social media, we do care about the temperatures in the rooms, and that we are validating the temperatures in the rooms, and that we're working towards solutions, and we make sure that no child is freezing to death in their classrooms.
Yes.
I just wanted to get that on public record.
I know one of the.
A lot of us have kids that are in those very classrooms in
Yeah.
schools, like, you know, that
Well, and I've seen the arguments back and forth. If I'm in this classroom, I'm in the schools, their kids are fine, but in the back and forth. But I just want to make sure that there wasn't something crazy going on in that one particular building that was.
One of the pumps that he's running is from Giles High School as well, so we've had, you know, I'll have to give a shout out to Mr. Fisher. He and his group are doing the best they can to keep everything running. You know, with some of this antiquated equipment, it's a chore, you know, to keep it running, but he is doing the very best, and we have.
They're short staffed.
For sure.
I know they actually have 2 folks out right now. So they're short staffed, so shout out to him, they're doing the best they can. We are, you know, usually it's about 7 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, he and I are on the phone with each other. But he called me this morning, gave me an update, I told him to go ahead and do what you need to do. We discussed it a little bit further on the other situation, told him to go do what you need to do on that.
Right.
And it sounds good when they know they're getting new.
That's right.
They're gonna get new soon, so.
Yes.
I mean, hopefully next winter.
You know, we're gonna spend a little bit of money, we gotta spend a little bit of money to keep what we have going.
Until then,
we get
for sure.
new, because, that's one of the conversations that Bobby and I had this morning. When do you anticipate Nares High School? And I said, Bobby, you know, we're looking at late 25, early 26 before we make the switch over there. So we've gotta keep what we have going.
Gotta keep something moving.
Well, I know you guys were addressing it. I just wanted to make sure the world knew
Thank you.
that it was being addressed.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Other items, I think that's everything that was on the agenda. Except for
School bus.
closed meeting, I'm sorry.
In terms of school buses, I included that on my notes, Mr. Williams. I'm actually holding until you folks give me the go-ahead to either purchase or bid those out. I think there is some question as far as funding goes, as far as where we're at with Stride, maybe our budget, so forth and so on. It might be a little while to spring, but I've kind of put that on the back burner until I hear from Dr. Arbogast or from the school board.
Mr. Williams, I totally agree. I just think we need to get probably our February retreat. Dr. Arbogast will should have a decent handle on the budget, what it is, and we can address those priorities. But I 100% agree that as soon as we can, we do it.
I hope we can buy a couple this year. I think we need to bid them all. Everybody bid on the same time, bid it out and get the number back. what you got those quotes there is good, but it's still, I know one of them called me, in fact, they'll do better.
Yeah.
If they knew it was if they knew they had a chance of selling.
When I contacted all three of these vendors, I pretty much told them, folks, my board is kind of directing me toward bidding these units out next time. So when I talked to IC, Thomas, and Bluebird, I put all the cards on the table and said, I just need a preliminary number. But when we get closer, we're probably gonna bid these units
Well, I
out.
think we need to bid them all for everybody, so
So everybody kind of knew where we stood.
that's fine.
Real quick, on the garden bar, I know that you noted in here that you had reached out to Mr. Stinnett, and I did see that. Have you heard anything back from him yet? Okay.
So I'm taking that as good news, and I'm proceeding on, unless I hear differently.
Excellent.
And I think, Mrs. Cook and I discussed that, I think it's just gonna be better to wait until after the new year.
Sure.
So we can get logistics in place as
Yep.
far as the educational component. I think we're gonna meet with, Mrs. Johnson, the principal, here in the next week to kind of go over where we're at with that
Excellent.
and, move forward from there.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything that wasn't on the agenda to take up for now in the next meeting? Or is there anything we need to go to closed session for? We got that on there if we need to, just.
Yes, sir, I've had a couple calls about some things here that it's for personnel, whether you want to go executive session or what we need to do.
We can do that. Is there anything else before we go in there that anybody would like to discuss?
There's one of them that I can bring up today. One issue I had, which I brought up last spring, I'm really still concerned about these homeschool kids. Are they getting what they need? And I don't think they are. I heard some stuff, her kid, here a couple weeks ago, the church is trying to teach him to read and write. He's 16, he's on our homeschool list, religious exemption. But whose responsibility is it to see that these kids are getting what they need? And most of them, I think 90% of them is doing great. And the parents are everybody's doing a good job of what they're doing. But we got some that just is not getting it.
And I think, unfortunately, I think for us, and Dr. Argas and Lisa, like, if, correct me if I'm wrong, but really, the statutory scheme the state is set up for the religious exemption, as soon as we approve that, and we're required to approve it with bona fide religious belief, those children go out of our purview. We have no authority, and it really comes down to the state, and really the state legislature, would have to determine that, or if there's a concern, I guess it would at that point have to go through Department of Social Services or kind of abuse neglect type deal versus us. I mean, I think at that point, as soon as we approve that exemption for that year, that our authority over that child ends, unfortunately. I'm like you, I think most people do a great job of it, but I think there's some that are falling through the cracks.
It's not like that. It's not just a fire tool.
It's not.
Okay.
But I don't speak for Lee, but I think we try to do everything we can to offer support to anybody that's reaching out for it. So we do. I do. Ms. Mustang does a good job of that. So. All right. If there's nothing further, executive session, I'll entertain a motion to go in closed session pursuant to the Virginia Code section 2.2-3712 A2 to talk about personnel.
Make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
I'm glad you memorized that, 'cause I did not.